Welcome into Defeating the Curse, DTC. It's another FP and LP show. Joe, Stevie, and the crew probably asleep right now. This is a late night show. Welcome in. It's an exciting week for Commanders fans. We have an offensive coordinator. We have a new assistant coach, EB, Eric Beinemy. Welcome to DC. We are shocked and amazed that you actually said yes to Ron Rivera and decided to come here. But I think all fans are excited, although a lot of media is criticizing it. It's a strange hire, but easily the best coaching decision, staffing decision Ron Rivera has made in his tenure here in DC. LP, you and I have gone back and forth for weeks now if we would be excited for EB, if we wouldn't be, if we thought he was the right guy, if he's going to be a fluke. We'll get into all the details and all our thoughts, but what's your initial reaction to finally having a offensive-minded Super Bowl caliber OC on this team?
I was always in the mindset of this was going to be Pat Shermer or Ken Zampese, and I told you that I was not going to podcast if either of those two were the offensive coordinators. But Ron shocked the world. I mean, no one thought that we would go out and get the best offensive coordinator candidate in the league this year. And there was a lot of talk about why would anyone want to come here. And I always said, sure, there's a lot of uncertainty past year one, but why not get a job where you can get a 2 or 3 year contract? And if you
Right.
get laid off, then who cares? Your contract's guaranteed. You're going to get that money. And guess what? If you did a decent enough job, you have the ability to go out and get a head coaching job. So it's almost like a win-win situation, right? Sure, there's uncertainty, but like there's always uncertainty in NFL.
It's a
Doesn't
hundred
matter
percent
what team you're on,
win-win.
what job you take.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's 100% win-win in terms of what the Commanders are getting and what Bieniemy is getting. But on top of that, it's win-win for Bieniemy because let's say this season doesn't go as many of us hope, right? Let's say we go from 7 wins to 9 wins. Maybe we don't really take that vaulted leap that a lot of us are hoping for. If the new owner, if that happens, comes in and says, you know what, clear house, Ron is gone, Bienemy's gone, everyone's gone, nobody's really gonna blame Bieniemy for being gone after a year under new ownership, right? He's almost got a
He
layer
gets
of
a pass.
protection. Yeah, he
Yeah.
gets a pass. But if he does come in, and this is where kind of that assistant coach title comes into play, if he does come in and this offense takes off, and let's say we're top 10 offensive yards or top 5 offensive yards, or because yards is more important than points or whatever. Let's say we're really clicking. Howell looks amazing. Terry has his best season yet. Let's just say everything clicks. All of a sudden, Bieniemy is going to be the hottest name in football even more for turning this team around. But he's also found himself in a position where I don't think Ron Rivera wants to continue coaching long term. And I think that assistant coach tag kind of paves the way for Ron a la Bruce Arians to go front office type situation, president, whatever. And then Bieniemy gets the full reins of the team as head coach. And I feel for us as in the Commanders, to really make that pitch to Bieniemy to join, I feel like that was something that was probably mentioned where it's like, look, you've had a hard time making the jump to head coach. This is a place where if everything works out, maybe after that 2 year contract, Ron retires from coaching and it's your show. And then we get that continuity we've always wanted. We get kind of the full experience of what Bieniemy's vision is going to be. And I think, like you're saying, over the Shermer and the Zampese and all that stuff, this is a fantastic, fantastic move for Bieniemy, for the Commanders, for DC. I've never seen under the Snyder era uh, the fan base so excited for just a positional coordinator hire. I've never seen that.
I think it happened when we fired Joe Barry, when we fired Greg Minuski. Like on the
Okay, let me
defensive
let
side,
me
it's happened.
I'll
On the
caveat
offensive
it. We've
side,
never been excited about a hire. We've been excited about firings, never a hire.
That's
Not
true.
this excited.
Well, the other way I look at it is that Ron is up against, I've got a new owner, and I've essentially got to reprove myself this year, and I have a short window to prove it that if I don't go to the playoffs this year, I'm going to be canned. And so let me go out and get the best OC that I can and just try to do everything that I can to make it happen and with a young quarterback. So that's the other piece. We heard in multiple reports that Ron was telling all the offensive coordinator candidates that Sam Howell's going to be the guy. Sam Howell's going to be the guy. We're not going to go out and get a big name in free agency. And so from what I'm hearing is that all of the offensive coordinators are like, yes, we think that Sam can be an NFL quarterback. We think that
so
we
too.
can win with him. So, I mean, it's just a home run hire to me. Like, thank God we didn't get Greg Roman. Thank God we
Oh
didn't
my
get
God.
Zampese. Thank God we didn't get Shermer. Thank God we didn't get Anthony Lynn or any of those other guys. And thank God that 2-1 run to pass is out the window. Like, I don't think that's Bienemy's
And that kind of falls
playbook.
into the criticism that some of the people, some of the stupid fans of this fan base that have just been drinking the poison well water for so long, and some of the media pundits and all these people, they're saying like, well, clearly Bieniemy hasn't gotten the head coaching job offer before for a reason. Clearly it's because he had Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. Clearly he wasn't the guy calling the plays. He wasn't the guy doing the things that needed to be done to get that head coaching position. But then the argument can be made, are you excited if you give play calling to Pat Shermer, to Zampese, to one of these bums? No, you're not. So even if Bieniemy really is first time ever calling plays, guaranteed it's better than all the
He's
other bums if they were
he's
calling
been
plays.
watching Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes for 5 years
Exactly.
doing it. Like,
Exactly.
come on,
Like
you got to know something at that point. I don't get
he's
I don't get
firsthand
the
on one of the most prolific offenses the NFL has seen over the last 5 years.
yeah, the not getting a head coaching job and interviewing 17 times is sure a red flag, but who cares? Like, we're not giving him a head coaching job. We're giving him an offensive coordinator job, an
Right.
assistant head coach job, and a play caller job, and that's what he excels at. I mean, look at the Super Bowl. He was in on that game plan. How many
Yes.
times did you see Kansas City receivers running open, wide
Right.
open, and
Absolutely.
Pat Mahomes throws the
Wide
ball?
open.
Who cared? Like, Pat Mahomes is a great quarterback, but a lot of those throws were to open receivers. Like
Yeah. Any QB can
any
make a pass to Travis Kelsey with a 20-yard cushion. And
exactly, exactly, and
it's
that's
scheme.
all about scheme. Yeah, scheme and plays. Right. Scott Turner, we never saw that. We never
Right.
saw
Right.
that. And
Scott,
even if you look at the other side of the football in the Super Bowl, right? The Eagles, almost all of their catches were contested catches. Like, it was not a the running back Sky Moore is going to go across the line with a quickly
there
cut
wasn't
back and
anyone
all that.
sneaking through a seam. Yeah. I mean, the thing you also have to key in on is right after the Super Bowl victory, one of the first words out of Andy Reid's mouth was praise to Beinemy, praise to his halftime adjustment, praise to his play calling. And a lot of people, conspiracy tinfoil, like, oh, he's just saying that to help him get hired, blah, blah, blah. That's not how competitors and athletes and winning people act. They're not out there to just give praise to help somebody. Like in that moment, in that the 5 minutes of winning the Super Bowl, you're not thinking, oh, let me help out my boy. You're like, no, I'm just
Exactly.
gonna word vomit what happened and what got us here. And you have to believe that it was Bieniemy who did that. And then so there's a John Kime podcast. I don't know if you were listening to it, but he basically is talking to his ESPN equivalent. I forgot the guy's name of Kansas City, and the guy was saying like Bieniemy is obsessive about practice and routine and preparation and attention to detail and all these little tidbits and all these little minute details to make the offense click. And you almost take that and you think of like a McVay where he just kind of has like this Rain Man mindset of everything that's happening offensively. And you look at it and you're like, okay, one of the things that you can blame Scott Turner on, he was definitely a scapegoat. He got fired because he didn't have good QB and injuries and this and that. But the offense had this brokenness to it under Scott Turner, where we couldn't carry through themes throughout the season. Where people are saying
Well, we
Beinemy,
had red zone troubles. We
right,
passed when we should have ran. We ran when we
right.
should
But
have
we're
passed.
talking more like outside of the first 15 scripted. Scott Turner was confused. Everyone will tell you that. What people are giving praise to Beinemy for is his attention to detail. He can set up a package for a week 2 game, see how it works, and then he'll recall that for the second half, or he'll recall that week 5 and 6 against a similar defense or opponent, or he'll recall something that he saw week 1 all the way in week 12. Like there's kind of like ebbs and flows and continuity to how Beinemy sees his offense and what he's going to install and how he's going to game plan from within the actual game and from week to week. And I think that's something that Scott Turner never, ever was able to really do. And even if Andy Reid was the play caller, you would have to assume that sitting in the room and game planning, Andy Reid is bouncing ideas back and forth with Beinemy. So there's a skill that he has that I don't think Scott Turner has ever been able to capture.
He's also got a pedigree of winning. Like he's got 2 Super
Yeah.
Bowls. He did this second one without Tyreek Hill. Like,
right.
if you look at their skill players like Sky Moore, Juju Smith-Schuster, who completely fell off a cliff, like they did this with players who are not Tyreek Hill,
Yeah,
who
you
are
could
not.
easily say we have a better arsenal of weapons than Kansas City had outside of when he had Tyreek and outside of Travis Kelce.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a home run hire. There's no way about it. Like, I
No.
don't think anyone in DC is upset about it. Yeah, I mean, just looking at the options, there's no way to say that this was a bad hire. So I am super excited about the hire. I think there's still a lot of work, obviously, to be done in the offseason.
Yes.
Hopefully, the owner, what's it called? The bids are due, I think, at the end of
Mm-hmm.
this month or at the beginning of March.
Right.
And all signs pointing to, I mean, I heard another report today. He's selling. He's selling.
Yeah.
He's selling. Like,
Well,
I
the
know
report is
us,
that
right?
he's selling, and the other report is everyone is still convinced from Goodell to other owners that it's still going to be Bezos, but he just doesn't want to be in the bidding war side of it. He just wants to swoop in, up the offer that's on the table, and take it.
I think that's bullshit. I don't think that happens. I think it's going to be another guy, maybe Josh Harris, maybe some of the other people. But I don't think it'll be anywhere near the 7 billion that Snyder wants. I think it'll be in the 6 range, maybe six and a
Right.
half.
The good thing is
But I think at
from
this point, like
from
Snyder doesn't like. I mean, if you have $6 billion, $6.5 billion, and Dan Snyder's still a businessman. Like he's still going to go to England. He's still going to do something else and probably make a couple $1 billion. Like he's fine, right?
yeah,
Um, I don't think that's something to stop him. Now, what I did hear that is a little bit concerning is that he wants to keep a small itty bitty piece of the franchise in his family's legacy.
I don't think
I
I
don't
don't
know if
think the
that
other
really
owners
happens.
let that happen. I don't think that
I don't
happens.
think any of the
One
bids
thing
come in
to
as we'll do 90% and let you
yeah,
have
no
10.
way.
I
One of
think
the things
everyone
to
wants
connect,
a clean cutoff, and the black cloud over
yes,
Ashburn and over FedEx.
absolutely.
Let me
Well,
go and get a new stadium at RFK, at the RFK
God, I
site.
would love that. I would love if
It's
I
gonna
mean,
happen. Right? A new owner. It's 100%. It's gonna be in DC. It's gonna be in the RFK.
yeah, I mean, I don't see how they get away from that. Like
I think
try to make that happen.
Virginia's gonna lobby hard at bringing it to Virginia. There's just no space near DC. There's literally
Yeah,
no
I mean,
space.
if it's not RFK, it'll be, hopefully it's just nowhere near FedEx Field. Like,
I
I don't
mean,
care where you put
as
it, just
horrible
don't
as
put it.
FedEx Field is significantly closer to DC than even like Landmark Mall. Like
Yeah, true.
obviously, I think they rebuilt something there, but like that was probably our best Virginia spot, right? Like Landmark. There's nothing in Arlington. There's nothing in Falls Church. Like Landmark would have been our best spot, and that's way further than DC than Landover.
Well, let's go back. So connecting the ownership sale to the Beinemy hire, Beinemy is a respected offensive mind in football, right? And you would assume that any owner comes in and they see that we have Beinemy, they'll be happy with that. And Ron Rivera, as much as we clown on him and some of the stupid things he's done and not knowing that we can make the playoffs, this and that, whatever, still a highly respected football name, a coaching name. So if
A
you're an
highly
owner,
respected leader of men, right? And
yes,
that's what you want as your head coach.
if you're an owner and you're coming in and you're looking at this team, right? Okay, yes, you need to pay for a stadium, but you're seeing respected head coach, uh, respected offensive coordinator, high prospect fifth round pick quarterback. Then you have stud defense with a coordinator that has proven that the defense can be highly efficient, right? From a player, from an owner to player view, there's really nothing to hate about this team. It's almost like the team now is ready and an owner can just come in and reap the rewards almost. Like he doesn't have to clean house. He doesn't have to put his stamp on the team, not right away at least. And I think that's a positive when it comes to the sale.
And you're coming into a market that is primed and that is starving for a
Yes.
decent franchise.
Yeah.
You probably don't even need to do anything. You just put your name on this franchise and you're going to fill up that stadium a little bit more. You're going to get a lot more merchandise sales. Like
Oh,
you've already disconnected
I fully
from the
expect
name.
FedEx Field to be sold out and the best crowd we've seen in 20 plus years. If week one it's a new owner and you have a Beinemy led offense coming on that field, I don't think this fan base will
Especially if Howell
reward a
looks
new
good
owner
in camp and in preseason.
100%, 100%.
Yeah,
And
even if
that's
not, right? Like
one
even if,
more wrinkle.
yeah,
Beinemy has already coached a rookie QB in Mahomes. He is used to taking a raw QB and making him QB ready. Obviously, it's probably an easier path with Mahomes, but Howell was highly regarded before he got drafted. If he got drafted a year before prior, he's a first round pick. So it's not like
he
we're
could have been
throwing out
the number one pick that
yeah.
year.
It's not like we're throwing out a QB1 that's like a shot in the dark. Nobody really has any faith in him. No, this is a guy that draft order be what draft order is. He could really well be a stud. Like nobody knows, and you want somebody like Beinemy to pull out the good and really give him a shot to excel. Easy to understand play concepts, player friendly. Beinemy is a hard
A
ass, but
guy
the
who can
people
run and pass.
yeah,
A guy
but the
who's
people
not
that complain that
fragile.
Bienemy's a hard mess, those are low character guys. Well, guess what? Ron Rivera's done a damn good job of getting rid of the low character people on this roster. So go ahead, Bienemy, be a hard ass to the players. The ones that are there, they'll be receptive to it. I mean, really, this hire kind of throws everything in motion that Ron has been preaching. The issue is it just took Ron 3 failed seasons to get there. Right? But
Yeah,
right now,
and Ron is a
the hope
little
is
bit
all
like
restored.
he's a little bit like Ted Leonsis. He's loyal to a fault, right?
Yep.
He stuck with Scott Turner way too long. Um, Carson Wentz, right? Like that was Ron's loyalty. Like I'm paying you 18 million. Let me see what you can do in the Cleveland game. Maybe if he
Yes.
had Bieniemy in his ear, that wouldn't have happened.
You would hope
Overall home
so.
run higher. I read an article today on Rigo's Rag, and it said 5 games that the Commanders would have won if Eric Bieniemy was offensive coordinator last year, and it ranked them. And I went through and it said the Cowboys game, the first Cowboys game with Cooper
See
Rush,
that? Mm-hmm.
the Titans game where we had 2 first downs under a minute inside the 5 or something like that,
Yep.
and we couldn't punch it in. The Vikings game where we were up, was it 10 or 17 with
Yep.
like
And then
5
we
minutes
shot
left?
ourselves in the foot.
Shot ourselves in the foot with the turnover, not running the ball,
Mm-hmm.
and then the 2 Giants games.
Yeah. 100% agree with that.
I mean, you take, yeah, that's insane. You take last season's record, add four
At
and a half
5.
more games
Yeah.
because one of the Cowboys games was a tie. Add
Yeah.
four and a
Four
half
and a
more
half.
games to
Mm-hmm.
that. Yeah,
But
I
that's the
mean,
thing about Bieniemy is like his attention to detail, but also his apparently his desire or his like the repetition that he drills into the team to prepare for any situation. Any situation. It could be 4th and 20, under 2 minutes, game-winning drive, or it could be second and short, red zone, tie it up. Like whatever situation, whatever situational football scenario is out there, apparently Beinemy kills himself and then kills the team to be fully prepared for that. And if you watch any Chiefs game over the last 5 seasons, did they ever look unprepared for whatever situation they were thrown into? Not
Yeah.
at all.
They're
And a
not
lot of it could be
penalized.
Andy Reid, but a lot of it is probably also Beinemy, and they just didn't play bad situational football.
Yeah, but we look
And
at Andy Reid, but who is from the Andy Reid tree? Ron Rivera. Who
right,
coaches? Like, I bet you their styles of practice and their styles of preparing for a game is probably very similar. Like,
yeah, I could see that.
Ron learned from Andy, so I think it's a great match, and I think this was probably a done, sealed deal way before the Super Bowl.
Hmm.
Something that we found out. I mean, obviously we already knew this, but this was really entrenched this offseason. It's all about your circles, right?
Yes.
It's all about who you know, where you've coached with them, what you're like. I can imagine group chats between like all of Andy Reid's former coaches, and they all talk, and they're all buddy buddy, and they all know the NFL, and they all like know what their next moves are going to be, and they all like each other. Um, I mean, I think this was done way before the end of the
I
Super
think
Bowl.
so too.
There's probably a
I think so
reason
too.
why Eric didn't go interview with other teams. I'm sure there was other teams interested. Um, at least in if he put himself out there, I'm looking for uh, OC slash assistant
Assistant
head
head
coach
coach.
job.
Yeah, yeah.
There would be people calling.
Well, you also have
100%.
to realize there wasn't that many teams out there that had a defensive-minded head coach, right? So really, this is one of the prime places where Bieniemy could come in with proven offensive weapons in Terry and Dotson and Curtis and B Rob and all those guys, but also know that he is the end all be all of offensive decisions. Of course, he'll consult with Ron. Ron will have input, this and that. But Ron, for the most part, loyal to a fault, it's Bienemy's show. And I guarantee you, Ron is like, look, I'm not an offensive guy. You do what you want. You tell us who you need. You tell us who should be where. It's your show. And I think that really goes a long way for Bieniemy.
I'd be interested to see what some of the fine details of the contract are. I heard something about a buyout. There was a buyout in the contract. I don't know if that's a Commander's buyout or a Bieniemy buyout. But also, I'd be interested to see, does Beinemy have input into the final 53? Does he have
Right.
input into free agents? Does he have input into the draft? And I bet you he
I,
does. I bet you he has some
I'm
of it.
pretty sure he does. Yeah. There's no way that they're not going to get him what he says he needs. If he comes out and he's like, look, I evaluated the tight ends on the 53. Some of them are good for blocking, but we need to get a better pass catcher. We need to get that more threat of a tight end guy to make the rest of my schemes work. Okay, we'll go chase somebody. We'll do what needs to happen. We'll maybe instead of that free agent signing of a QB that Ron said we're not going to do, maybe then you go get a Dalton Schultz from the Cowboys, or you get the dude Gesicki from Miami or whatever. Some of these tight ends that are on the free agent market, maybe you go make a move that way, and that could work out very nice for us because, I mean, since Vernon Davis, we haven't really had a consistently good tight end option.
Yeah, I think Cole Turner could take that step up.
Possibly, it's
And then
possible.
Logan, obviously, a year and a half removed from the ACL.
I think he becomes
I
cap
think
casualty.
well, Logan was one of the only players who was outspoken about Scott Turner's offense. I don't. I think he probably takes. I mean, it's him, right? It's not.
Yeah.
His wife doesn't know much about football, I'm sure. Um,
I mean,
not
overall,
not that I'm
it's just,
saying that she doesn't. I'm just saying he's probably in her ear. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think it's a home run. I'd be interested to
what
also
I'm
see
excited to
how he
see.
fills out the offensive staff, right? Like who comes over
Yeah.
from Kansas City. You know,
or what guys sprinkled throughout the league that he lost somewhere else, and now he can bring them back with maybe a small bump in position. Um, yeah, that'll be interesting. But also, I'm really curious to hear what Beinemy says on Thursday at his presser, to see if he kind of gives us any tidbits of why he said yes, why he chose the Commanders, what he expects to see, how he wants to use probably one of the best wide receiver rooms in the league, if we're honest. I mean, I'm really curious to see what kind of sneak peek he gives us in his presser on Thursday.
yeah, I think it'll be a lot about Ron building a culture and a team that he wants to be a part of,
Yeah.
and then also Martin
Restore the glory,
Mayhew
blah blah blah.
being a GM, um, so President Jason Wright. Like I think top to bottom, it's probably a good front office staff right now that Snyder's going to be gone. Like there's probably no reason why someone wouldn't want to work for this organization.
Very true. And also, if you look at, okay, so a lot of people speculate about Beinemy not getting head coach. It's because he's black and because black coaches never get a shot, blah, 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 blah. But if you look at this franchise, top down, outside of Snyder,
It's
I
a very diverse
mean,
group.
it's a
It
very
is a
diverse
very
group.
diverse
That's
group.
the wording I was looking for. But if you're Beinemy and if maybe you did feel snubbed for whatever reason, and you look at this team and you're like, all right, well, if there is ever an opportunity for me to go head coach, it's going to be the diverse group here that might say okay to bumping me up if Ron leaves.
Yeah, it's a good point. Let's pivot to some of the other quarterbacks in the NFL who may be on the move this offseason. Daniel Jones, I just read today, he wants to be paid Patrick Mahomes money.
Please, please, Giants, do this.
The tag for him would be $33 million. Patrick Mahomes is at $45 million. The Giants are really in a pickle here because they got to pay Saquon and Daniel Jones, and they want to keep both of them. You can only
And if
tag
you're
one, and you got to sign the other one to a long-term deal. Which
if
one
you're
would you sign, and which one would you tag?
you can't say no to a quarterback that has played full seasons and recently a playoff caliber team. You can't say no to that QB because as we know, QBX, that guy is so hard to find. So hard to find. And the Giants, if they lose Daniel Jones, as much as we clown on him, who knows what they get to replace him with? Who knows what that does to the team, right? Like they quote unquote have a
But you don't know.
championship window.
Brian Dable may be looking across the pond to Baltimore and said, "Hey, they lost Lamar Jackson for half the season. Tyler Huntley came in, probably played just as fine as Lamar.
What
Like
what
he's a Pro Bowler."
what pond is there between New York and Baltimore?
The
The Baltimore Harbor?
exactly.
I
They
mean,
flew
but yeah,
across the ocean and then back in.
the I-95 pond.
I'm
But
sure
yeah,
there's
no,
ponds.
I mean,
Right,
but
like
still,
I guess
that's
my
such a
point is
high
like,
risk move. And
but
I
there's
love
also
Saquon
there's also
Barkley. I
players
think
like
he's
Derek
amazing.
Carr who's out there.
Yes.
Like, can you honestly say Daniel Jones is a better player than Derek Carr?
No.
I can't.
No, but I can say that you already have a QB1 who has proven somehow, some way he can get over 500 wins on a really good season and do just
With
enough
no offensive help,
with no
like no
offensive help.
weapons other than
Right.
Saquon, nothing.
And as much as I love Saquon, RB1's not that important. Not that important. You lose Saquon, but you draft another high round RB1.
But in
Okay.
the salary cap game, right, an RB1 is like at 10 million. Like it's not much, right, on a $233 million cap. You can tag a Saquon. It's probably 10 to 13 million, right? Like that's not a huge dent in your salary cap.
Not at all.
So
I
you
mean,
could
but that's
tag
the
him
thing.
and not really
You
flinch.
shouldn't extend Saquon to a long-term contract and put yourself in the boat of the Cowboys with Zeke. It just doesn't make sense in today's NFL to tether yourself to a long-term contract for a running back.
What's a
Does not
long-term
make sense.
contract for Saquon? 3 years, $33 million.
If he says yes to that, I mean that might be a steal, but it's just the value goes to QB
So
overall.
who would you tag?
You tag Saquon, you lock up DJ. And as a Commanders fan, you absolutely want them to lock up DJ.
I don't know. I mean, Kirk Cousins broke the NFL at the quarterback position. He may do
Yeah,
the
I
Kirk
mean,
thing, like I'm not signing a long-term deal unless you give me 45 million, and if you don't, I'll tag. I'll bet on myself at 33 million. I mean, it's just like paying an NFL quarterback is just so expensive against the cap.
yeah, and honestly, like I really hope they cripple themselves because of Daniel Jones. I would love to see that happen, right? And then on top of that, like not like the Eagles are going to eventually have to cripple themselves for Jalen Hurts. And if
Yeah,
we
but look
truly
at
can,
you talk about cripple, but look at who won the Super Bowl. $45 million Patrick Mahomes.
yeah, but that could 100% be because of Beinemy and Andy Reid. Maybe Mahomes falls off a cliff next season because he doesn't have Beinemy. Probably
No,
won't happen.
no, he had Matt Nagy as OC there, and he's likely going to get promoted again back to
Yeah,
being OC. I don't see them falling off a cliff. But my point is, like, yes, if your quarterback is top 5 in the league, absolutely, you can cripple your franchise and still win. I think if your
yes.
quarterback is in like the middle of the league, like the Kirk Cousins, Derek Carrs of the
Russell
world,
Wilson.
Russell Wilson, that will cripple your team.
Yeah, I agree with that fully.
You think Russell Wilson makes a comeback with Sean Payton?
Um, I
I could see that going sideways real fast.
I think Russell Wilson has a lot more issues than coaching, and I think Pete Carroll did a really, really, really good job of masking those issues. And Sean Payton may very well be able to do the same. I just have zero faith in Russell Wilson. Zero.
What about Aaron Rodgers? You think he leaves Green Bay?
Is he out of his blackout retreat thing? Did he ever even take it? Did he just say that and then not do it?
No, I'm sure he did and probably smoked a whole lot of weed.
Honestly, Aaron Rodgers is very intriguing to me. There's no way he doesn't go to the Raiders, right?
You think so?
What other team? The Niners aren't going to take him, and if they do, I think there's enough bad blood between Aaron and that franchise for him to snub them. I
I
guess
think
maybe the Jets is the number one option for Aaron Rodgers because
I
they're
think
putting all their chips in on getting him.
I think 25 of the 32 teams or whatever probably say they don't want Aaron Rodgers. But if Aaron Rodgers were to come calling, all 32 out of 32 teams would probably answer the phone.
Could you see Tampa Bay replacing Tom Brady with Aaron Rodgers? If you're Aaron Rodgers, there's some good weapons there.
Yeah, who was their backup? I thought they had somebody. Not,
Uh,
it's not Matt Barkley still. But yeah, that's intriguing. I could see Tampa. I could also see him going
I
back
could
to
see
Green Bay.
Aaron saying no. I could see Aaron saying no to the Jets just because he doesn't want to be painted with the same brushstroke as Brett Favre going from Packers to Jets.
I could see that, but it looks like the Jets are the front runners for Derek Carr. He at least visited them today, so I think they might go that way. Which leaves another interesting gap with Zach Wilson. I was high on the kid. I just think,
I would
whatever
take
reason
Zach Wilson to replace Heineke as QB2.
I think that's too sketchy, too dangerous grounds to play with Howell. You bring in Heineke as your QB2, he's that's his ceiling, right? Everyone knows he's a QB2. He knows he's a QB2. He's not going to try to replace QB1. But if he were to come
Zach
into a
Wilson is
game, he
gonna
could
come
win.
in and try to shake things up and be
And Zach
drama.
Wilson's also a little bit of immature, right? Like I think we can all agree to that. Some of the things that he did
Yeah, I mean honestly, he
in
might
New
not
York,
even be a Ron type of guy. So
he's
not
probably not.
yeah.
Yeah, he's probably not.
I mean, it's there's going to be definitely not a shakeup like we saw last season, but there's going to be interesting moves. Apparently, the Patriots have flirted the idea of trading Mac Jones. I wouldn't be opposed to that if Mac Jones said yes to come in here and having a true open competition between him and Sam Howell.
Wouldn't be opposed to that either. I mean, Bailey Zappi played just as well as Mac Jones last year, so I could see the Patriots really shopping him around. But I
Yeah, but
wouldn't give
that's
up.
also
I wouldn't
they
give up
had
any
freaking
picks
Matt
for him.
Patricia as their coordinator. Like it's a fake
Only
offense.
only on first and second down on third and fourth it was somebody else.
That's
It's the
just so
weirdest
dumb.
thing.
That's just so dumb.
Yeah, it's a little bit of. I'm surprised that Belichick would do such a thing. To me, it reminds me of the everybody gets a trophy kind of thing. Like, I don't want to piss either of these two guys off. You do
I
runs and
mean,
you do passes. That's
yeah. I mean, it's kind of the same problem that Ron had is I don't care about the offense. You just take it over, right? So
I wouldn't be opposed to Mac Jones. I wouldn't want to give up more than like a fifth.
the other big rumor, and this is one that I really don't want to happen, is we trade our first round pick to the
No,
Bears for Fields. I do
Fields is
not
not a
want
first.
that to
Like,
happen
why would Fields net you a first round pick? I don't
because
think
he
he's a
was
good
a first
quarterback,
round pick. He's dynamic and he is a truly elite mobile quarterback.
but his passing game is just too off to me.
But also, what did they have in Chicago
Nothing.
to evaluate his
Absolutely
passing?
nothing.
Exactly.
Derek Mooney or whatever his name is.
Exactly. You're gonna tell me that Justin Fields won't look better passing if he has Terry
I
and
mean, in
Dotson?
a 5 minute conversation, you could probably convince me that Justin Fields is the next Patrick Mahomes.
I mean, it's possible if you give him the enemy in our weapons. It's not out of the realm of possibility.
I don't want him.
I don't
I don't
want him
want him.
because I want to
I,
keep the first round pick and I want it to go to an offensive lineman and I
I
want
don't
our
even.
second round pick to go to an offensive lineman and I want our third round pick to go to an offensive lineman and then we can look at linebackers and cornerbacks and everything else. Just shore up the damn O line.
Yeah,
You
amen to
could
that.
put anybody back there if you have a stout O line. If Sam Howell goes from having 1.2 seconds before a sack to suddenly 3.5, 4 seconds, he can go from Patrick Ramsey to Patrick Mahomes. It's that possible if you shore up the O line.
That's a good analogy. I 100% agree with to that. I want them to shore up that offensive line in free agency and in the draft, just to be sure that you've got depth and you've got real starters there. Um,
But that's why, like, I don't care what you can get for the
but
first round pick in free agency or trades. Give me stud O lineman.
I'd replace all four of the five alignment. I'd keep Leno and replace everybody else.
Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to that.
Cornelius Lucas is a great swing tackle. I don't want him to start. Sam
I'm
Cosmi.
okay with all our current starters becoming our depth.
I'm not okay with Trey Turner or Wes Schweitzer or uh, Norwell being back. All three of
Yeah.
them got to go. Schweitzer, okay. I mean, if you want to keep him on the back end of the roster because he can play center a little bit,
Yeah.
it's fine. But I don't want Rouillet back. He's always injured. I don't want Tyler Larson back. He's always injured. Like, how many teams went through four centers in a season this year? Probably just us. Yeah, agreed. That's got to be the offseason priority.
So
New line.
back to QBs. What happens if Jimmy G becomes available? Do you take a shot?
No,
Because
I
it
don't think
kind of
so.
goes with the Zach Wilson conversation if he's
I
going
think
to
I
only be
think
QB1.
I think for a few reasons. I think at least between now and a new owner, I don't think Snyder's going to sign off on any big paydays. And then I think by the time a new owner is here, a lot of those big free agent names are probably off the board. And then
Yeah.
two, I think you gotta just ride Howell, right? Like you ride Howell, and then you get some depth, whether it's Heineke, whether it's I don't know
Jacoby
Andy
Brissett.
Dalton, Jacoby Brissett, maybe even like a Baker Mayfield, someone who's got some reps as a starter, who could come in and win a game or two if you needed. but you gotta hand the keys over to Howell and just hope that he can take that step forward.
I
Now,
truly think
the only exception to that is if you fall in love with someone in the draft. If you fall in love with someone in the draft, like a Hendon Hooker, I think he's got an ACL, right? Like, I don't think he's going to play this year, but like, I don't know.
Fall in love like round 2, 3. We're not getting a first round QB.
Yeah, even a first round. Like, I mean, Patrick Mahomes was 17. Like, they're there. If Eric Bienemy's like, this is the guy I'm going to, stand on the table for, then fine. And you just have an open competition with Howell. But I'm not for bringing somebody in who's a free agent as QB1.
So,
like, if you're bringing someone in as a free agent, their depth.
I can tell you this: if Snyder was not selling, we would be backing up a Brinks truck right now to Lamar Jackson. That's just such a Snyder decision.
See, I don't want Lamar Jackson.
I don't either. I'm just saying, if Snyder wasn't selling, that would be what we're talking about right now.
Yeah. And I just saw that the Ravens are planning on tagging him, but a tag and trade is in play.
Interesting.
I think he gets traded.
Now that I think about it, I think Jimmy G might actually go to Vegas and reunite with Josh McDaniels.
I could see that. But then what do you do if you're the Niners?
I mean, they screwed themselves for how much they spent on Trey Lance. Do you just have open QB competition between Trey Lance and Purdy? That sounds like a lose-lose.
I bet you Purdy would win.
Probably. For as much as we praise Kyle Shanahan, that was one of the dumbest decisions ever. Like, Trey Lance, really? I hope 20 listens to this show so he can get mad at us.
North Dakota State University.
Yeah, that's proven so
great.
Wentz. Proven to be so great.
Does Wentz get a starting job this offseason?
I think Wentz is out of the league. I think he's out of the league.
I think he wants to be out of the league. I don't think he wants to play. I heard
Maybe he can go to the XFL.
I heard that the day after his the season ended, he listed his home for sale or for rent.
Something like that. Gruden's home?
Both of them. He apparently had a townhouse, and then he had Jay Gruden's home.
That's weird.
Well, wasn't he renting Jay Gruden's home? Was that it?
So. Mm-hmm.
I forget the exact details of the story, but yeah, he moved back out to Indianapolis already. I don't know why you'd pick there. I guess if you're from North Dakota, Indianapolis is better than Virginia.
Maybe they have really good hunting and churches. I don't know. I can't tell you.
It's probably true.
I mean, look, there's not much to be excited about in DC outside of the Beinemy hire. The Caps are struggling hard. Ovechkin's dealing with family stuff. The Nationals are hot garbage. Nobody even wants to buy the team. I mean, I guess the Wizards are kind of, sort of on a heater.
I mean, they're still in the 10th place. Like, I mean, heater for them is playing game.
It's always that for them, right? And it's always just enough. I did have my hopes up that we would bring Russ back. It'll be interesting.
No, but now that Russ is gone, there's an opportunity to bring John back. I'd love
to bring Wall back. Even if we don't even make it to a play-in game, I feel like the fan base would come running back to Cap One.
I feel like John would come back too. I feel like he would forget the past and say, "All right, fine, I'll come back." I don't feel like Ted and Tommy would want him back. It's insane, right? Like,
gang signs.
Put up 3 fingers and and that gets you ousted from the league, but like all the other crap that goes on is fine.
I mean, the NBA really has.
Like, he didn't kill anybody. He didn't do anything. Like, he wasn't arrested. Like, he's not. I don't know if he's in a gang or not, but he didn't commit a crime.
No, but for whatever reason,
Like, why is that the, like, you know what I mean?
the
Why is
deciding
that
factor.
yeah. And it seems like it seems like it's kind of league wide. Like it's not a Washington thing. Like Houston gave up on him twice. LA gave up on him. No one wanted to sign him, like
I
except the
mean,
Clippers, right?
he's not who he was before the injury.
But he's not
His game
awful.
did decline. He's not awful, but
Yeah, well, we
his
don't
game
know that.
declined.
Well, we don't know that because he also played on a team with other superstars. Like, and I guess he got injured when he got traded. But you can't expect him to do the same things when Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
I'd
I
want him
love the
back.
guy. I want him back.
And I think the whole city loves him.
Yeah. I mean, he connected with the city. I mean,
Yeah.
he was him and Ovi were the guys in DC because the Commanders were doing nothing. Juan Soto hadn't elevated himself yet for the Nationals when he was here. I mean,
It was
Bryce was
Bryce.
here, but I mean, people were kind of over Bryce at that time, like that 2017 stellar season. I think the tide was turning on Bryce already.
It was him. It was RG3. It was Strasburg. It was Bryce.
RG3, no, we're talking 2017. RG3 didn't exist.
No, John Wall was drafted in 2011, I think.
Yeah, drafted, yes, but I was saying towards the end
Oh, towards the
of
end.
his time here.
Yeah,
Like
I'm talking about.
towards the end,
Talking
like
about
after all
young.
that time he
I'm
connected.
talking about young DC athletes at that time. Like we were riding high at that time. Like we had
Yeah.
made the playoffs in the NFL. Um, we had a young John Wall number one, Bradley
If
Beal
we
number
just
two the
had
next year, Otto Porter number 3 the next year.
That's true. That's true. If
Like
we
we
just
were
had
riding high. That was a good time for DC sports.
competent owners, general managers, and coaches from 2012 on, we would be the city of champions for all the sports.
I mean, we
Every
won
team is
twice.
clicking.
We won twice, right? That's 2 more times in our entire lifespan, and we're almost 40 years old.
But we were definitely trending in the right direction those years, and then we just on all four sports, self-destructed.
I
Maybe
think
not so the Caps. They didn't really self-destruct. They're self-destructing now because we refuse to play younger guys and we're kind of sticking to the old group and it's not working. But I mean, DC needs
yeah,
something.
but OV's gonna get
Needs something.
the record, right? He's
Hopefully,
gonna get it. I mean, he's got a few years left in him, I think. Like,
but you have to surround him with young guns and other weapons for him to really have a shot at it. Because the rate we're going now, he's not going to get it. He'll get really close, but he's not going to get it unless you completely rebuild this team.
he's got what, like it's like 80 left,
No.
something like that. It's under 100.
Yeah, I don't think it was 80. But I mean, he's
How
crazy
many goals
close.
does he get a year? 50, 40s?
Good, amazing season. I think he's at 50. Average is like 35 to 40.
So he could get in 3 years. He's like 37.
Yeah, he's old, man. He's gray. But I mean, regardless, if you just paid attention this weekend to Audi Field and the XFL,
They had
this
12,000 fans, man. They
this
just had
city,
12,000.
it doesn't
There were
matter.
12,000 drunk,
This
energetic people,
city,
but there were only
DC
12,000.
proper, DC proper, the actual DC is dying for football to be back in that city.
Yeah, but those are not like the hashtag HTTC crowd. That's not the diehard football fans.
No,
Those
those are the
those are the
fans.
20-year-old, like, hey, let's go to this
Yes,
event. Let's have
yes.
some drinks.
But
Let's party.
that's the rest of the country, dude. The rest of the country looks at the football team. You have the diehards, but are you telling me everybody that fills Arrowhead are crazy people like us that are diehards? A lot of
Yes,
them are,
Arrowhead.
but I
Yes.
think but I think a lot of the other fans. All right, let's put it to Seattle. Okay, they just love going to see to a
Yes,
Seahawks game
Seattle. Yes. Yeah.
and being that 12th man and being rowdy and being
Uh,
whatever.
I think
Eagles fans,
middle
they're
of the
crazy, but
country,
like
Kansas City. I don't know, where else is the middle of the country?
Denver.
Indianapolis. Denver's an exception because there's a lot of young people there.
But what I'm saying is
Cleveland,
that
like
there
those are
is
the diehards.
a pocket of young people in
Cincinnati.
DC, a pocket of young people in DC that would love to just root for a football team and go to a football game because going to football games is fun. It is the funnest of the four sports. You want they're just beer snake, dude. They're just dying for a drunken 4-hour football event that isn't filled with poo-poo sewage water and stale pretzels and shitty parking and inability to
Shitty
metro
beer.
and $8 shitty beer. Like they just want anything to grab and enjoy. And the XFL is giving that to them right now. And I guarantee you, based off the tweets and the Barstool DMV and all these like videos of the beer snake and stuff, game 2 for the Defenders is going to be even crazier because everyone's going to
But
be like, oh
I
shit,
thought
well
that
maybe
I
now
thought
I'll go.
security broke the beer snake and said they can't do that anymore.
I'm pretty sure
It's
they'll
gonna happen.
allow it. They'll allow it. Or there's
I
going
mean,
to be like 5 beer snakes now.
yeah. I mean,
Spread the
even
love.
if you look at like seriously DC United games, they're like that too. They're hardcore
I
fans, but
refuse to
and
believe
it's probably. But what'd you say?
I refuse to believe MLS games are lit.
Take a look. Take
I
a look.
refuse to believe it.
Season's right around the corner. It's a fun atmosphere, dude.
I'm losing
You should
interest in
go.
our own podcast as soon as we went to MLS. There's no way.
As a single guy who lives in the DC area, you should go. It's fun. Audi Field is a fantastic field unless it's sunset.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I mean, the
don't
city
go
is just
sunset.
waiting for something good to happen in any of our teams.
I mean, it's true, right? Like, how many people did you know that had season tickets like 10 years ago who probably knew very little to almost nothing about football? So many of them. So, I had so many friends who were like, "Yeah, I have season tickets and I go. We tailgate. We had so much fun. We drink, and then we watch a football game." But they didn't really care about the football game. But you're right. Like the city is starving for a
They just
good,
want that vibe.
like we're DC is a good events city. Like
Yeah.
events, concerts, like those things. Like we thrive at those things. So yeah, you're
I
right.
mean, granted, the Commanders aren't going to get it unless a rebrand comes with the new ownership because I don't know what the hell you can chant. You can't do the tomahawk chop.
Oh, they
You can't
will.
do
They
any of
will.
that crap.
They'll figure it out. People are creative when it comes to drinking. Like the beer snake. Like who the hell thought of doing a beer snake? I
And
mean,
you
come
gotta
on. You
love those
just figure things.
Georgetown college boys.
Just figure shit out.
Yeah, I
I'm done.
mean, it's
We're
I'm
starving
excited.
for that. DC.
I'm starving for
Would you go?
to an XFL game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you go to a Commanders game uh, in, in DC?
Yes. FedEx. I will go. Like, I'll put it on record right now. If Beinemy turns this offense around and we start the season over 5 wins before week 9,
That's average. That's like not even average.
that's not average for us.
That's 5-4. We were probably 5. We were 6-4, weren't we? We were this year.
No,
Yeah.
no. We were never 2 games over 500.
Yeah, we were.
Are you sure that?
But I think before the
We were 1-4, and then we started winning.
before the two Giants games.
All right, let's change it. As long as we rank in the top 15 of offense, I'll go. Just get me top 15 of offense. That's it. I
think you're
want to
gonna.
go. I
I
want to
think you're
go
gonna
to a
be
game
going to
and
some
watch
games.
touchdowns.
I
That's
think
what I
you're
want
gonna
to
be
do.
going to some games this year then.
You think we get over top 15 in offense? We've never been over top 20 since 2017. 2017, I think we're 20. We've
Was
never
that
been
Kirk?
we've never been over 20, I think, since even longer than that.
Even Kirk years, we weren't over 20?
I believe so.
Wow. I think we get it this year.
I would love it. I would
I mean, and
love
there's a
it.
big question mark on that quarterback, but I mean, there's 32 teams. You're not better than 12 of them.
We were talking about if the NFL and the XFL went Premier League style, where the shittiest NFL team drops out and the best XFL team moves up. Guaranteed, if that ever happened, we would drop out first year.
That's what I said. I said, do you really want to give up a year?
I would love for that to happen, though.
But then even if you did give up a year, who knows? Who can prove that you'd be the number one XFL team?
Yeah, we just never make
Josh
it back
Gordon
to the
was
NFL.
playing yesterday.
Yeah, if the Commanders were to fall out of the NFL and
It'd
be
be like a
stuck
5-year
in
drought.
XFL. Yeah. But
Yeah.
maybe the Defenders are good, right? Maybe they bump up.
I think wasn't
I-
their quarterback in Washington as a Commander, as a football team guy, or maybe a Redskin?
Maybe.
I think it was the COVID year. I think
Mhm.
when we brought in like Heineke, Steven Montez, who played yesterday, and I think this guy Jordan Tiamamu.
Can we just take a second, since XFL is kind of on the topic? How embarrassing is it for Jason Wright and Tanya Snyder to see an XFL rebrand get so much more love and acceptance of the Defenders than your billion-dollar NFL team and their rebrand? Everything about
I'm
the Defenders,
convinced
top to bottom, branding-wise, is phenomenal.
Dan didn't give a crap and cut corners on that rebrand like no other. And probably was like, I don't care. It's going to be easier for me to get rid of the team when they're not the Redskins. I don't have any loyalty to the Commanders. I don't know. Yeah. But the DC Defenders is actually a better name than the Commanders.
Everything about the Defenders is a better brand.
Including Greg Williams, the
uniforms.
DC of the DC Defenders.
Yes.
He was livid last night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm loving the XFL.
There were so many former Washington players. It was Jimmy Haslett versus
It's almost
Greg
embarrassing.
Williams. Steven Montez was on the field.
It's almost embarrassing how many former Redskins, Washington football team, Commanders players are sprinkled into the XFL. If there's a stat out there somewhere of NFL teams that have the most personnel in the
Players
XFL,
and coaches.
we are ranked
We
number
win.
one.
100%.
That's embarrassing.
Yeah, very much so. I like the XFL because I think it gives former NFL players or striving NFL players another shot, right? And it's the off season. I watched a quarter of it and I thought it was pretty good.
I saw the
I didn't think it was
replays
bad.
of that. I saw the replays of one of the games yesterday where they took advantage of the 3-point conversion and then the 4th and 15 instead of punting.
The onside.
And then they won with like a minute and 15 left or something. Like
I think it was like the Seattle game. I like their uniforms too.
I love crazy rules like that. Like it like puts me in the mindset of like NBA Jam and like 4-point shots and like he's on fire and just like hot zones.
If you think about it, the NBA didn't adopt the 3-point line until the ABA had the 3-point line, and then they merged. So maybe the NFL could adopt some of these rules.
I think the 4th and 15 rule was.
It was proposed.
Yeah.
The onside kick is nothing now. Like
garbage.
It never happens. There's always a flag.
Speaking of rules, apparently the NFL is going to try to get rid of the QB sneak push. So basically, F the Eagles and Jalen Hurts. They're trying to get rid of that, where the guys come behind the QB and push him forward.
Why?
Because it's unfair advantage, and because Jalen Hurts is so good at it, and nobody likes the Eagles except the Eagles.
Oh, okay.
And apparently,
you're not going to be able to push a runner forward. I mean, I guess
it's just rule. On QB sneaks. I
I don't
think
know.
that's the proposal. But I mean,
Yeah.
they need
I
to
think
spend
it's a
time
lot. It's a
fixing
lot of
the
other rules
refs.
you can fix.
Did you see?
Yeah.
There's also a conspiracy theory that the guy who's in charge of the sod for the Super Bowl, his nickname is like the Sod Father or whatever, and he's done the field for like the last 50 Super Bowls. He's actually a Kansas City fan. And there's a conspiracy theory, probably from Eagles fans, that like the Chiefs knew about like the type of field it was, so they were prepared, and the Eagles didn't know, so they had to change their cleats, and like 38% of the Eagles plays they were slipping, and then like 7% of the Chiefs plays they were slipping. Like there's like a huge disadvantage.
I noticed that it was like all of the Eagles players changed cleats and none of
Hmm.
the Chiefs players changed cleats.
Yeah,
Wow. Yeah. I mean, maybe, maybe.
I would hope for that to be true. I hate the Eagles.
Well, there's
Anything that
also the
happens to go
conspiracy
against the
theory
Eagles.
of what's the guy's name? Can't believe I'm blanking on his name. The Bills safety,
Oh, DeMar,
DeMar
body
Hamlin.
double.
Yeah,
Not true.
that's not true.
Not true. People are just drinking that QAnon Kool-Aid, man. It's what like what is the benefit of the body double? Are you telling me like the NFL is trying to save face that somebody died, so they paid for a body double? What's the
Yeah, and
conspiracy?
why would any of his friends and family come out and say something like, "There's no way,"
No.
and it's all Photoshop too, 100%.
Yeah,
All those images are photoshopped.
people don't realize just
Yeah.
how good photoshopping skills have become.
No, if you're not an idiot and you're just scrolling, like if you actually pay attention, you could tell.
Yeah, but I'm saying like it's getting harder and harder and harder to tell
Yeah,
what.
but there's a person on our DTC chat who firmly believed that it was a body double.
Where you could clearly tell it was shopped. Like the lighting was different on the ear cutout.
I think half of his ear was cut out.
It's I don't know. I mean, Joe keeps wanting to do a podcast talking about UFOs and shooting shooting down UFOs and flying
Balloons.
balloons. And
Yeah, there's a hobbyist group who said it was their balloon over Alaska.
I saw that. Yeah, it was like a weather thing. All I know is this is the worst part of the year because
But
football's
it's also
done.
about to be the funnest part of the year for
For you,
Washington fans.
for you, you live and die and breathe
Free
off-season
agency,
tweets, free
draft, like
agency, mock draft. That's
yes,
your bread and butter.
because it gives you so much hope for the future.
Yeah, we can't be disappointed quite yet. So,
Exactly. You can only win.
all right, let's wrap up the show. Final question: win-loss prediction under the Beinemy, Ron Rivera, JDR Commanders.
Wow, this is a very early time of
Early,
year to be
early
doing that.
prediction. Early prediction, without looking at the schedule, just a gut feeling. What changes and how is it? Give me a
My
number value.
my gut is we make the playoffs as a wild card team.
Wow.
10 wins.
I don't know if 10 wins is enough to make wild card this year.
What did the Giants have this year? 10, right?
9, I think.
9, 10. Yeah.
So you're saying what, 10 and 7?
I say wild card. Maybe not the last wild card spot, maybe the second to last wild card spot.
I'm going full bullish. 14 wins, NFC East division
Wow.
champions.
I
One
mean, the
seed,
Eagles
baby.
are good.
One seed, baby.
The
The
Eagles are
Eagles
good,
also
dude.
lost both of their coordinators. Both of their coordinators. That's a big loss.
That is a big loss, but I don't know.
I also still don't fully believe in Jalen Hurts. He had a great Super Bowl. Still don't fully believe in him.
That was one of the best Super Bowl quarterback shows I've seen,
I
and
know. I
I
still
don't
don't
like
believe in
him
him.
either. You can play back the podcast earlier in the year. I was not a believer in Jalen Hurts. I still don't like him, but that's because it's on the Eagles. If he was on
I mean,
Washington, I'd love him.
I just don't buy into it
They
yet.
are
You got to
so
show me
stacked.
show
Well,
me 2
Miles,
years of Jalen Hurts being good.
yeah, I mean, maybe he gets injured.
And then the Cowboys are trash, and the Giants I don't think are going to be as good this next year as they were this year.
The Giants are scary because they had a really crappy roster. I don't think they were that good either, but
I
they had a
think
really
like
crappy roster.
75% of their wins were one possession games.
Yeah, but
I
that's
don't
got to
believe
go to
in that.
coaching, right? Like that's
I
Brian
don't
Daboll.
believe in it. I don't believe in it. I don't think you repeat that. It's too fluky to repeat.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
All right.
it's been a good show. I don't remember what we say at the end of every podcast. Find our episodes wherever you find our episodes, and yeah,
If you
we
listen this
are
far, we owe
out.
you a beer or something like that. But no, maybe not that one. All right. This has been fun. Find all our episodes on
There it is.
podcast, Podbean, wherever you watch your podcasts, iTunes, uh, I don't know, Twitter at Defeat the
Spotify.
Curse, Instagram at Defeating the Curse. I think it's still up. On Facebook at Defeat the Curse. On MySpace at Defeating the Curse. Not just kidding. We're not on MySpace. This has been fun for FP and LP. We are out.